Why, hello there, and welcome to another tank review. I'm Corny Swiss, and today we're looking at the Tiger 2 with the Porsche turret. So it's the first Tiger 2 you get at a 6.7 battle rating. And as always, with every other review, if you want to see something in particular, all the timestamps for the various parts are down below. So simulator gameplay, realistic gameplay, or just a final opinion. All that's below. Feel free to go check it out if there's something in particular you want to see. If not, let's get started. So, the Tiger 2, or King Tiger as it was called, was another one of these end of the war, well, middle of the war to end of the war solutions for the German army. They decided they needed bigger, better, battered tanks. And the Tiger 2 fills that role pretty well. It has the same 88 millimeter gun, which was legendary as an anti-tank gun. But the tank we have, well, this Porsche turret tank is one of about, I think, 50 that were produced with this turret variant. It was a very early design. They stopped doing it for a couple reasons. One, where you can see on the screen there, the commander's cupola, that was very difficult to manufacture, that curved bit of armor. Very difficult to make, so it added another step to the manufacturing process. And also, the front of the turret created a shot trap that we will discuss more when I start talking about more about the armor. But it's still an effective tank. It still has a long 88 millimeter gun, very thick armor, and about 492, if I remember the stat right, were produced from 1943 to 1945. Historically, it suffered some of the most of the problems that late war German machines suffered from in terms of not having enough engine power, transmissions that couldn't carry the load. So that's a little bit of an issue. It definitely has an underpowered engine. So without further ado, let's talk more about the tank as it sits in the game. So when we open up the statistics, it's a rank 4 6.7 battle rating. That's actually pretty important. 6.7 is the highest battle rating you can be currently and not see 8.0 battle rating tanks. You can still see rank 5s. You can see 7.0s, which are like the IS-3 and the ZSU 57-2. And then the ISU variants, which, I don't think you should be that worried about. So you'll majority of the time see rank 4 tiered competition, which is good because I don't like this thing seeing T-54s. I don't like anything seeing T-54s. I think it's a very tough task. But this is a 68-ton machine, very heavy tank, very, very heavy, on a 700 horsepower, 3,000 RPM engine. The engine, it's powerful, but it doesn't bring enough to the table to really make this thing a speedster. 42 kilometers per hour. I usually see 37, 38. I think it takes a long time to get to that 42, or else you need a really good hill to get up to that. Maximum inclination, 41 degrees. I guess that means you can go up a 41-degree slope, which, is nice. I don't think there's that many 41-degree slopes that you'd want to go up. Turret rotation speed, 18.5 seconds. They've actually buffed that recently, and the turret actually turns pretty quick. The turret is fairly mobile, and it's good. I like that. It gives this thing an extra edge when it comes to fighting in closer with Russian tanks or trying to defend yourself against multiple tanks. You can turn that turret really quick. Vertical guidance, 8 degrees of gun depression, 15 degrees of elevation. Elevation's a little weak, but the gun depression is pretty good. It's standard for German tanks, and German tanks have standard, pretty good gun depression. So that's kind of those stats. It's not a particularly quick machine. It doesn't turn that well. It doesn't go all that fast, but it is fairly well armored. So we'll go ahead and talk about the armor. Let's open up the little armor thing here. So let's talk about the hull first, because it's basically the same as the Tiger 2 with the Henschel turret. Actually, interestingly enough, the Henschel and Porsche turret. The Porsche turret wasn't a Porsche design. It was actually designed by Krupp, who designed both turrets. But for some reason they called it a Porsche turret. Random fact there. Either way, front of the hull is 150 millimeters, slope back at 50 degrees. Pretty good. That means this plate is effectively about 200 all the way up to about 220 or so. So about 200 millimeters on the front plate, which is nice. Lower plate is 100 millimeters thick, also sloped back at 50 degrees, so it's not quite as thick. Starts off about 190 millimeters, whereas this starts off at about 200. But it is sloped fairly well, so it is a tough target. Shooting this is a better idea than shooting this. However, the turret is a better idea than this. But if he's like angled up, kind of like this, shooting this is a great idea because you're going to penetrate all day. I mean, this is 150 millimeters. Tanks that see this can do 150 millimeters usually. So, side of the hull, 80 millimeters. It's standard for German tanks to have about 80 or heavy tanks to have 80 millimeters of side armor, and 80 on the other side, 80 at the rear. It's 80 all around except for the front, which is okay. It's nice. Let's talk about the turret. Let's start at the back because we're already here. 80 millimeters at the back. 80 at the side. The thing is if you get hit in the side of this tank, you're going to explode, and we'll talk about why in a few seconds. At the front of the turret, 100 millimeters on the turret face, 110 on this gun mantlet, but the gun mantlet's fairly small. And I mentioned a shot trap. It's actually right here. This downslope of the armor, if the shell doesn't penetrate, a lot of times what happens is it'll hit there and ricochet down through the roof of the tank, which is only 40 millimeters, so basically it's going to penetrate. And that usually can do you in, or else it'll just penetrate the turret, because quite honestly, 100 millimeters isn't a lot. And we were just saying that, when this is 150, that's doable. Well, this being 100 doesn't help all that much. I guess the advantage is that the face of the turret is fairly large, but if you miss, it's not penetrating. Even the top is fairly well armored as well. It's going to be difficult to penetrate that at 78 degrees. So the front of the turret, in my opinion, is sort of the weak spot of this tank. Obviously from the front, it's the weak spot because it's the easiest way to knock this tank out is shoot it in the lower half of the turret or right on this seam here. That's a pretty good spot to hit. And I have actually knocked these things out by shooting the commander's cupola because, it goes in maybe at a weird angle and then blows up inside the turret, kills everybody. So let's pull up the damage model. So I was talking about how the turret, I think, is a little bit of an issue in the front. Well, and here's where you can see why. Usually when I fight these things, I shoot at the right-hand side of the turret if he's facing you, because that's where the gunner is. He's more likely to generating a disabling shot. And also, the commander's right behind him, and there's some juicy ammo behind it, or behind him. Also, if the shell explodes in here, it's going to hit this ammo, this ammo, this ammo, this. It's going to hit all the ammo. It's just not going to be good. Probably fuel tanks. So if you penetrate the turret, a lot of times that means the tank's done. I guess that's true for most tanks. However, it's a little bit easier to do it in the Porsche variant. In terms of layout, we have the transmission in the front, which is standard for German tanks. Machine gunner, radio station. We got fuel tanks in the bottom of the tank, but these aren't usually going to be your target. If you want to set this bad boy on fire, just shoot back here. You got 2 fuel tanks behind 80 millimeters of armor. That's pretty doable. 80. If you're going to set the thing on fire, just shoot it in the back half of the chassis. Now, if you're going for that one-shot kill, it's a little easier. Ammo. Below the turret is basically an ammo rack. Side of the turret is an ammo rack. Shoot him right here and it's going to kill most of the crew. And obviously same thing on the other side. So the sides of this tank are very vulnerable. And that kind of plays into how I think you should play this tank. It's a long-range sniper, it really is. The armor is great for dealing with its opponent's guns at range. When they get in close, IS-2s will punch through your turret like it's not there. T-44s can't hope to hurt you at long range. IS-2s, if they get lucky and get a good ricochet, but it's a small target. You got to hit right here. I mean, that's pretty small. Well, they got to hit you right here. That's a fairly small target. If they hit any higher, it bounces, or it hits the side of the turret, it bounces. Top of the turret bounces. You know, down here bounces. So it's a fairly small target right here. T-44s have no hope of penetrating you at a significant range. Medium range, they might get lucky. Close range, they can do it through the front of the turret. But if they're at close range, they're probably alongside you, ready to blast your ammo rack. So that's kind of the key in this tank, is to keep the enemy at arm's length, because you do have this fantastic 88mm KWK-43 with 77 rounds of ammunition. And let's pull up that ammunition. So when you first get this tank, you start with this, base armor piercing, which is good. It's a good shell. 1,000 meters per second muzzle velocity, that's pretty good. It's very accurate. And the armor penetration, 225 at 10 meters, 200 at 500 meters, 160 at 1,500, 150 at 2,000. What does that mean? It means you can penetrate the front of an IS-2's turret at in excess of 2,000 yards. Based on the shell, the way the penetration's dropping off the shell, it might be about 2,200 meters. You can still penetrate the front of an IS-2's turret. The hull might be a little more difficult because of how it's sloped and things like that. But this is a very good armor-piercing shell, and this is basically what I fire when I don't see T-54s, which is never. Because there was a time where this tank did see T-54s, and that was kind of not good. So APCR ammo is not what you unlock next, so I guess I'll talk about the heat first. Heat, I don't fire this heat ammo because the muzzle velocity isn't very good, 600 meters per second at this tier with this gun. 103 millimeters penetration, I can do better than that, and I can have a better post effect with the AP. I prefer the AP. If both are going to penetrate, I prefer AP over a heat, just because of the shrapnel and the way it spreads and things like that. I think it's pretty good. So heat, I've never fired any. APCR is kind of what you're grinding for initially. 265 millimeters penetration at 10 meters, 240 at 500, 205 at 1500, 170 at 2000 meters. Probably out to 2500, in excess of 2500 meters, you can still penetrate an IS-2 frontally, which is cool. And if you can penetrate the IS-2, you can penetrate just about every tank you'll see with this APCR. And it travels at the speed of light, 1200 meters per second. It's very accurate, it's a laser pointer, right? The only downside is the damaging effect isn't that good. The AP has a much better damaging effect. So I generally still fire AP unless I'm just dug in against someone I just need to penetrate. And I feel then I'll fire APCR maybe at range or like on Kursk or something like that. But I generally try and make the AP work in every situation. I carry a lot more of it because I think it's just the better shell. The penetration is good for everything you see, which is kind of all that matters. I do carry some APCR just because, like on Kursk maybe, or Mozdok, if you're engaging at really long range, it's useful to have. Now, that's the ammunition. HE, don't bother. It's a 88mm HE shell, doesn't really do anything. The only thing this is useful for is ZSU 57-2s. And honestly, whenever I'm playing, I generally go loaded to face the most dangerous tank to me, if that makes any sense. The ZSU is very dangerous. However, honestly, if I run into an IS-2 and I have an HE shell loaded, I can't hurt him. I can maybe blow out his gun, but I can't do anything to him. If I run into a ZSU with HE, I'll kill it, maybe, unless I get unlucky. But the thing is with an AP shell, I can kill both, right? It's less effective against the ZSU, but it's infinitely more effective than the HE on an IS-2. So I generally ride around with APCR if I really, really need it. But you kind of don't. AP is fine. So that's the gun. And 12.2 second reload, I bet you can get that down to about 10. which is a really, really fantastic rate of fire. On this 88mm gun, it's a great long-range sniper, and you're going to see that. I mean, if I was a really good shot, it would be a great long-range sniper, but if you're a better shot than me, then absolutely you can do some work with this. So, the top to bottom summary of this portion of the review. The armor from the front is good enough. The hull armor is good. It's pretty good. I like the hull armor. Hull armor is durable. Turret can get you in trouble because of the shot trap or just penetrating it. But if they hit high, it's generally not going to. If they have to hit that seam or hit on the lower part. But at range, that's such a hard thing to do anyway. So blowing up my phone. Do that over there. So, sorry about that. So, the turret is effective at range. Sides and rear of the tank are all 80mm, so you're going to get knocked out if they get alongside you and put a hit in. You're toast. I mean, it's the same thing. Most tanks have the big enough caliber gun to knock you out. 85 will do it, which is what the T-44 has. And that's the smallest gun you'll face other than the ZSU, but the ZSU fires 2 shells and can keep firing. So you'll be pretty toast if they catch you on the side. If anything catches you on the side, you're toast. That's basically what you should take away from that. Your turret can give you problems, but the hull is good. So this tank is actually really good hull down, because the turret is a fairly small target either way. Especially at super duper long range, it's almost impossible to nail a shot in here, you know. So, yeah, the armor's pretty good. The gun is really, really good. Arguably best gun in the game. I still prefer the 100mm on the T-54, but that might be changing because I need to try out the 105 King Tiger now that they buffed the the fragmentation spread of its shells. That might be my new favorite gun, but the 88 is certainly a really, really, really good gun, and you could argue it's the best gun in the game. However, I just prefer the 100mm, a little more punch, but that's my preference. Obviously, you can disagree, and you probably will. But in terms of mobility, it's not very quick. If you give it a run-up, it can get places, but it's not. Mobility is not what's going to get the job done in this tank. It's going to be the gun. The armor is good enough, and the gun is really, really good, so it's a good long-range sniper. So let's go ahead and jump into the replay, shall we? So we're going to start off with a simulator battle. Now this replay serves 2 purposes. It shows kind of how effective the gun is, but also maybe something not to do. But then again, I think about half the time you're going to end up on unfavorable maps for this tank. I personally don't like any of the old maps, so Jungle, Karelia, and Kuban for really any of the late tier German tanks. They're long range snipers, and these maps don't allow you to really do that. They're too close. There's too much terrain. Whereas like on Poland and Mozdok and Kursk, it's fairly easy to put yourself in a position where you can shoot at someone who's 1,500 meters away. But you have to play with the hand you're dealt. So, gonna have to just get it done. So, I'm gonna be driving this tank in a way I don't want to. Is basically the net of what I just said, I guess. Could have said it much easier. Now, what's happening so far? The enemy have a fair amount of their guys in the south, and they're kind of doing a good job over there. They have a few guys up over here in the northern portion of the map, and this SU-100, which is a very dangerous tank, came up over there. My first shot disabled him, and then a teammate knocked him out, which is pretty good. There's also a medium tank, and then another SU-100 is going to be over there. And you're going to kind of see what I mean, I think, about the AP with both of those guys. APCR, you notice that I'm carrying a lot of AP and not a whole lot of APCR. The reason is that, from my experience, the AP is perfectly adequate to deal with everything you run into. Front of an SU-100, I mean, if you're going to get one of those troll bounces, APCR is going to do the same thing. If you're going to get a penetrating, damaging hit, AP would probably knock him out. APCR, no. You might just get the driver. You might just get the gunner. You're not likely to get everything that you want. This is fairly dangerous coming up over this hill when I know there's enemies over here, but sometimes you just got to do things. And there's going to be the T-44, I believe, is the first. Yep. I actually didn't see him there, but he's right there. The armor, it looks like the shell went off the side of my turret rather than the front, which is good for me. Good thing I was moving. But the T-44 got a little bit of the good news right in the face, and then teammate knocked him out. And right there you can see what I mean. Shooting commander's cupolas is actually not a bad thing. A lot of times you can get away with doing some significant damage to a tank or just knocking it out. And there goes the T-44. He received a fine helping of the good news. So this next little segment here is going to show you what I mean about AP versus APCR. I'm not likely to one-shot kill an SU-100 with APCR. I might disable him, but I'm not likely to kill him. Whereas with AP, if I get a penetrating hit, he is very likely to die. I have to find him first. There he is. Bam. Right through the driver's hatch. Actually, that's interesting because I thought it exploded. It didn't explode. Interesting. I don't think APC... I guess maybe so much of his crew was knocked out that just killing the driver was enough. That's probably true. Either way. The point of the matter is, no matter what you run into on any map, AP can do the job. And that's kind of what you need to use with this gun, in my opinion, just because it's just does more damage. That's it. I mean, you're more likely to one-shot kill them. So, I guess I think I've talked enough about it. That was some weird moving. What's happening so far? Well, what's happening is in the southern part of the map, someone's running a train on our boys down there. And, yeah, it's honestly, it's an I believe where it is, it's an IS-2 model 1944, but there's also an SU-100 who's parked way up in, let's see, what grid marker is that? I think it's M7. I think he's just parked up in there. He's next to like AAA, which I don't know. I don't like that you can get there, but basically they have a couple SU-100s and an IS-2 or two that are just reining it in on our guys in the southern portion of the map, and they're gonna basically do the same thing to the teammates who are pushing in from the north. I mean, we're kind of playing into their guns. I mean, oh, he just knocked out a friendly. I have to give him the helping of the good news. We're definitely playing into Russian guns' favor. We're engaging at medium to close range. But this map kind of makes you do it, and my experience with this tank is on long range maps, you do fairly well. On close range maps, it's a lot more difficult. And sometimes even on long range maps, if the enemy's able to flank quick enough and you can't deal with it fast, you kind of just sit there and die anyway. But Kursk is a little interesting. Poland, the flank is actually pretty doable. However, with some teamwork, it's avoidable. And now I have spotted the SU-100 on the minimap who's parked over there somewhere. Don't quite know where. But at this point, it's not looking that good. They have a... thing is that SU-100s get 2 spawns, so for every time we kill them, we gotta kill them again. And they do have a very good gun. They have that 100mm I like so much. That's a gun that just about at any range, if he hits my turret, I think he can penetrate, which isn't good, obviously. But we're kind of past the point of playing cautiously. Too many of our teammates are dying, and I need to come at them from maybe a weird direction or a direction they don't expect, but I'm undoubtedly spotted by that SU-100. Yep, their incoming shot right there. Looks like it hit off the turret. I know he's over there, I can't quite see him. Just something I like about Simulator. However, now I'm going to get wolf-packed by a couple SU-100s. He's going to shoot me in the face. What I'm doing right here is I need to put pressure on them, because if I don't, they're going to cap and win. Coming into the cap is always a bad idea when the enemy have good lines of sight on it. And there's another SU-100, but he receives a helping. That's what I'm talking about with the spread. I just knocked out his entire crew with one shell because of that spread. With APCR, it doesn't spread like that. Now I'm looking for this SU-100 over here because he's the one who can hit me. Take a healthy hit from the side. But he's over there, so I'm toast. At this point, I know it. They know it. It's just 2 reloads. See that guy fire, but he's going to back up behind the cliff, and I get hit from the side, right into the side of the turret, and that's going to do me in. That's kind of what not to do. The SU-100 is a really powerful gun. You never want to be in a position where he can get on your side. But sometimes that's the way the map plays out. So let's move on to the next replay, shall we? So here we are in the next replay. It's a realistic battle in Poland. Now, I'm going to kind of demonstrate what I mean about this tank being a long-range sniper. But because I'm impatient, and quite honestly, I don't like the long-range sniping playstyle. I think that's why I struggle with some of these German tanks and making reviews for them. Is I just for some reason refuse to play the way I should with these tanks. I know they're long-range snipers, but inevitably I always just find myself being circled by a T-44. But either way, that's not going to happen this time. It's going to be something else. But don't worry. But I'm going to drive up onto this hill over here, and there will be targets galore. And myself and my teammates are going to start opening up and really giving this Russian team a run for its money getting into the city. And I found that that's kind of what you have to do. A lot of times, on any map where there's a cap involved, so like a zone you have to cap, not in this game mode, like with this, battle, but in Domination, Conquest, I think all of those, the Russians have a severe advantage. They're faster, and they have multiple spawns. I was just ranging there, that was short. So they can get to the cap first, cap basically before you can get there. And that makes you close the distance, which you never want to do in German tanks. You don't want to close the distance, however, the game mode forces you to. So look at all these targets. This is exactly what you want in the good old King Tiger. Now, if I was a better shot, these would be hitting. I'd be doing tons of work on these guys. But notice how either one, they can't hit me, or two, it just bounces. At this range, it's very, very difficult for them to damage me. And this is how I think you need to play this tank. Let the Panthers and the Jagdpanthers do the close quarter stuff, because honestly they're fast, and sometimes you can beat the T-44s to the cap. However, those tanks Panthers are kind of built for it, but Jagdpanthers aren't built for going on city streets and things like that. They're too vulnerable from the sides, and they don't have a turret. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, I think, on some of these maps. Anytime there's a cap. This map, there's no excuse. There's no cap. However, we are going to lose the city fairly hard. I think you have to make a concerted effort as the German team to not go anywhere near the city. Stay back. Let them take the city, and then make them engage you from the city at a range that suits you. So, for example, sit maybe back where I was before, where my randomly selected squad mate is. Sit there. Let them take the city. Let them try and flank. And then just sit there and wait for them to come. That's kind of what you should do. I think personally, I find that style of play boring. But, that's what the tank's designed to do. That's in the way it stands in the game, that's how you should play it. So it's just, quite honestly, it's bad play by me to advance forward when I know that's not how I'm going to win, if that makes any sense. Because I'm trying to win, and I've found that the hardest part for me playing these tanks is not playing well, but trying to win the game in a way that this tank just doesn't do it. And there's a little IS-3 over here, and he gets wrecked. You don't fear IS-3s in this tank. Take a hit from the IS-2, no damage. My critical mistake here is I'm not gonna focus down on this IS-2. He's gonna reload. He's gonna pop right out from the same corner, and I won't be looking at him. And he's gonna spread the bad news to my face, which isn't good. I get distracted by, one, I shouldn't have ever advanced. I also get distracted by a T-44. Boom. Right in the side turret. Which, regrettable. But, you see what I mean? It penetrated the seam of the turret and just killed everybody. So, a little unfortunate. But let's move on to the next replay. So here we are, another realistic battle on jungle this time. Like I said, it's difficult to get maps where you can really display this tank in its natural habitat. However, I feel justified in showing maps where I have to play outside of a playstyle, one, because I prefer it, but also because a lot of your games aren't going to be on Kursk or Poland or Mozdok. They might be on Kuban, they might be on Jungle, they might be on Karelia, all of which don't play into this tank's favor. However, you can make it work, and that's the key. You just got to make it work enough to try and win the game. So I'm coming down over here, which is my usual strategy when I'm in a heavy tank, is to come to this corner and duke it out. I like my chances because I'm likely to run into IS-2 or an IS-1, which is fine. SU-100, I feel okay about. They have a decent rate of fire. My rate of fire is definitely better. I'd prefer to run into T-44s because I can shoot it in the face and he'll die. IS-2s are kind of the same way, but if he gets a shot off, he's likely to do me in, especially at this close range. But there doesn't seem to be anyone over here. It's unfortunate. Turns out what the enemy did is a few of them went north, and one or two went south, and then a couple went in the middle, which usually I don't like. I usually prefer when you stay on one half of the map, so maybe middle and south or middle and north, because you can sort of concentrate forces there. But I mean, the enemy kind of spread out, and it's not going too bad for them. They've knocked out a couple of our tanks, and we've knocked out a couple of theirs. But we're so far away from them that if we don't hurry up, we don't deal with these guys, they're going to be in our cap, which is bad because we're slow heavy tanks, and it's unlikely we'll be able to get back there. But there is an SU-100 over here who needs a good helping of the good news. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm worried that we're just going to get hit in the side like a ZSU or something like that. There is a ZSU-57 in the game, but he wasn't here at this moment. So this SU-100 is shooting AI for some reason, so we're going to run it behind him, give him a healthy dose right in the back of the face, and do him in. And holy God, there's an IS-2 here as well. Well, I'm reloading. I have great rate of fire, so was going to shoot him in the back of the turret, but if you want to turn sideways, that's fine too. See you later. And now we're in an interesting situation. I don't really know what. I've never seen that before, where no one's gone to the corner on a team, and then people, I guess, behaved like the corner was clear. Clearly wasn't. Clearly. But now we're in a kind of an iffy situation. That's a ZSU-37, who, I mean, we have to be concerned about, but I guess not horribly concerned. And I came over here to try and get another shot on him. get another angle, hopefully catch him from the side. But that wasn't meant to be, so I'm turning the tank, being mindful of being lit up on the side by a ZSU, and I'm going to go over here and support my heavy tank friend, who is pushing forward, which I kind of don't like the idea of, because we've lost the northern end of the map. When I was playing this, it's clear because all of our AI are dead. That's usually a pretty good indication that you've lost control of that part of the map. And if you don't have any teammates over there, then kind of out of luck. Teammate just got knocked out right ahead of me. There's a SU-122P and an SU-100. Now, that's not good because the SU-122P can one-shot my face. SU-100 can one-shot my face. And there's two of them. I do have good rate of fire, but I'm not likely to be able to take 2 hits and survive. I shoot the ZSU because he's the only target presented. And he is something worth killing. It's annoying, it can damage me. I think it can penetrate my side armor. So, do him in. At this point, we're being capped. But, I mean, if I was going to do something about the cap, I should have turned around right now and rushed back. However, I mean, now that's weird. How did the driver's hatch bounce my shell? But, oh well. Game mechanics. This strong armor. But, basically, we're not going to be able to do anything about that cap. We need to just kill them all. And I was hoping, when I was playing, that that's AI and sitting in the cap circle. It's not. It's an IS-2. He cleaned up the AI on the northern part of the map and just moved into the southern part of the map. And had his wicked way with the cap circle. There's an SU-100 over here. He needs to die. He's engaging a pair of TDs. There's an SU-122P ahead of me. I was pretty convinced he was going to just come over the hill and one-shot me. But he's actually not going to. A little weird. So, the SU-100 is still there. The Ferdy just knocked out someone. And the IS-2 has actually just team-killed his own AI. Which pretty much should have told me that he's in the cap circle. At this point, I was pretty sure it was him. But, because of how long the cap's been going. But, I mean, I can't do anything about it now. I can't turn and go deal with him because I'll just get shot in the back. And, yeah, there's really no way to win unless we had someone back there. The SU-100's dead. Now it's time for this SU-122P, who, oddly enough, did not give a shit that I was over here. Okay. Well, now that the threat to the front is dealt with, I could go back to the cap. However, the cap is almost 50% done. And I'm trying... There's a T-44 right there, and I was trying to get a shot on him because I can't go anywhere if he's there. But the Ferdy takes him out. I mean, we're all in big, slow, heavy machines. We don't have any... No one can spawn back. We're toast. The game's over. They're going to win. They're going to cap out our base. Which sucks because it was pretty fun. There was a lot of good tanking. And more good tanking to be had. But, you know, the enemy's trying to win. We're trying to win. And they're going to do it. So, a little unfortunate. But, honestly, it was a fun game. And I wanted to kind of demonstrate you can get it done on this tank when you're not sniping. It's doable. I mean, it has a good rate of fire, and it's a good tank. I don't have a lot of success with it. But, maybe you will. But anyway, we lost the game. Let's move on to the final opinion. Alright, so final opinion time. What do I think of the Tiger II with the Porsche turret? Honestly, it's kind of it's an interesting situation. And I'll try and explain why. I think it's a good machine. I really do. It's a good tank, has a great gun, armor serviceable, speed is meh, but, I mean, okay. I mean, you're not going to get great speed on it with a great gun and great armor unless you're a T-54. Now, my issue with this tank is the front of the turret is kind of a glaring weak spot. And most people just shoot you there. Most people know not to shoot the upper glacis. Lower glacis most of the time is covered or a weird angle, so you might as well not shoot that. Might as well just shoot the turret. And that's a really effective way of dealing with this tank, which is unfortunate. Whereas on the Henschel turret, it's thicker, but it does see guns that can deal with that as well. But however, you're more likely to get bounces off that because the face of the turret is actually smaller, and the gun manlet or the gun base takes up more of it. So a lot of times you get bounces off the gun base. Now, the issue I have with this tank, one, it revolves around the playstyle. To play this tank well, I feel like you need to sit back and snipe with it, which is fine. There's plenty of tanks that need to do that. I mean, this tank doesn't need to, but it's better if you do. The issue is about, let's see, of the game modes, there's 3. Battle, Domination, and Conquest. Alright. 2 of them involve going to a location and sitting there for a long time with defending it from the enemy who are coming there as well. One of them is a free-for-all, basically. It doesn't matter. You have to defend a zone, but usually that zone isn't the point of contention. Usually it's somewhere else. So 66% of the game modes I don't think favor this tank. Now, that being said, of the, how many maps? 6? 6 maps? Let's see, Jungle, Karelia, Kursk, Kuban. Okay, Jungle, Karelia, Kuban, that's the old ones. Poland, Mozdok, Kursk. Yep, okay, 6 maps. 3 of them don't favor this tank, or favor the opposition. That's Karelia, Jungle, and Kursk, and Kuban. Kursk, Poland, and Mozdok, though, favor the German guns. Now, I mean, the reason that is because the last 3 maps the newest 3 maps are longer range encounters. Average combat distance is probably almost 1,000 meters. Whereas on Kuban, Karelia, and Jungle, I'd say it's closer to 500 meters. Which, 400 or 500 meters, which this tank won't do that well in. However, the reason it's still serviceable is because of the rate of fire. And the fact that it does have some weird angles about it with the turret. So you can actually, at the last second, turn the turret slightly and bounce a shell going right for the face of your turret. And sometimes that works. Or it might just skip off the side of the turret. Now, so on 66% of the game modes and 50% of the maps, I would rather not be playing this machine. But that being said, I've had done well in it, and maybe not. I mean, universally, I don't win very much with this tank, which kind of colors my opinion. You should take that into account, like a grain of salt. I don't win a lot with this tank. I personally, I don't think I'm a very good King Tiger in general driver. I like to play quick. I like to play aggressive. And these tanks don't lend themselves to be played aggressively, which, is more of my fault as a player rather than the machine's fault as it stands in the game. I've seen people rack up crazy scores with these tanks, and I've also seen people who have 75, 80% win rate with this tank. Now, that's pretty good. I mean, that's really good. And I know rank 4 really does favor the Germans. However, in my experience, it favors the Germans on the 3 new maps. And the new maps sometimes come up in the rotation, I think, a little bit more. For example, I haven't gotten Kursk in a while, but I've gotten Poland a lot. I get Mozdok every once in a while. However, the biggest... Holy cow, what just happened? That was weird. I got dropped out of the game. Whoa. The weirdest thing for me, though, is I don't experience that success. However, this is a really good tank. It doesn't see the high-end rank 5s, which is nice. Has a great 88mm gun. Has serviceable armor and is okay in terms of speed. It's not good, but it's not horrible. It's serviceable. So I guess my opinion of this tank is it's good. It's not bad. it's certainly not bad. Honestly, I'd take this over any of the IS-2s, the T-44. I would think about it, but I would take this tank over an Su-100. The whole reason is, even though I really like the Su-100's gun, this tank has a turret, and it has a really effective gun as well. Now, if the Su-100 had a turret, I would think about it. But I really like... This is just a good package of machine parts. It's a good tank. It really is. And if you're grinding for German heavy tanks, don't be scared of this one. This is a pretty good one. The Henschel, I think, is good, but it sees tanks that it just doesn't deal well with. So, honestly, I think this tank is in the best situation of all the German heavy tanks. I mean, the Tiger's pretty strong, but rank 4 and 5 heavy tanks, so all the King Tigers, I think this tank's in the best spot because it still has a really good gun, has the long 88 that the Henschel has, and it sees competition it can deal with fairly regularly and at long range. So I guess the net of what I'm saying is it's a good tank, and if you're grinding down the Germans, don't be scared. This is a good tank. If you prefer playing kind of those faster Russian tanks, you might struggle initially with this tank, but just remember, you have a great gun, and you can penetrate them at any range. They can't penetrate you at any range. So, and I'd pick this over the IS-2 because the IS-2's turret isn't that good. The hull is okay. However, I've been drilled pretty regularly through the hull. And the gun's rate of fire is so low that if you don't connect with that first shot, disable or kill, you might not get another one. Whereas this tank, if you don't connect with the first one, you very well could get a second, even a third. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this tank. It's a good one. It's something I would play this tank just casually. There's some tanks that I do a review and I honestly haven't touched them since, like the ISU 152. I mean, I'm gonna play it again. I want to see where it stands, but this is a tank that, you know, don't feel bad playing. This is honestly, it's my preferred rank 4 tank when it comes to Germans. So there you go. So that long-winded opinion, it's good. Summed in 2 words. Well, 3 if you count a contraction as 2 words. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the review. I hope you learned something. I hope I maybe answered some questions you might have. If you have more questions, feel free to post in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer. Either myself or my brother will. And if Phil does, then he'll probably talk to me about it, or I'll see the comment and I'll pitch in if there's anything I need to add. But, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'm in Corny Swiss. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.